Hello, hello, everyone. It is Wednesday. And for all of us in the United States, happy Thanksgiving tomorrow because we get a day off. And then for people like Hannah in Dubai, they don't celebrate Thanksgiving. So you can dream of eating turkey with us, right, Hannah?
And yes, I will.
Well, anyway, welcome back for this week's episode of our webinar series. And, we started diving into topics. Last week's was amazing. What we covered last week, if you didn't watch it, please go back, go to our YouTube channel and take a look at what we're doing because we're not just covering places any longer. We're actually giving you tips and tricks and everything you need necessary to buy real estate globally and what you need to look for and so forth. And we're going to dive right into that today too. Hannah's all about writing me a script and she gets so mad I don't follow those scripts though, but that's okay. We're going to do a great job. It was a great script.
We sure will. So today's topic is very important because buying overseas is different and the rules are different and the legal systems are different. The timelines, the taxes, the ownership structures, everything changes once you cross borders. So most mistakes aren't really made because buyers are careless. They're made because they assume the process works the same way that it works back home, but it doesn't. So today I'll be asking Stephanie the exact questions buyers usually ask us and the ones they should be asking so you can avoid the expensive pitfalls and make smart strategic international decisions. So let's dive in. Stephanie, what is the number one mistake you see buyers make overseas?
Well, we talked about this last week, and the number one mistake is buyers buying based on emotion and not strategy. Don't let emotion take over. Buying emotionally, look, people fall in love with that view, the pool, the lifestyle or the resort, whatever is there, right? But they don't evaluate all the things like the infrastructure, the accessibility, the resale, the rental demand, what the long-term value actually can be. And so you can't buy solely on emotional. You can't. You can buy a beautiful property in the wrong place all day long. And that's what we want to prevent you from doing.
Exactly. The Instagram trap where the view is gorgeous and then you realize that you have to change five means of transport to get there and the rental market is weak and there's nothing good there. So that does happen. And then talking about the second mistake, I think this one's very big, the legal structures. What do buyers usually misunderstand?
Well, the legal structure is right because every place is different. They are not all the same, and they're certainly not the same as us buying in the States or wherever your current home is. So every country is going to have different rules. Some have restricted foreign ownership, and some use trust structures. Some require local entities to be set up. Some only offer leasehold. So there's a lot of different ways to purchase depending on what country you're going into. But a lot of times buyers sign contracts without even knowing how they need to be able to perform to purchase on that property. There are countries that require you to apply and they must approve you to become an owner. So you don't want to sign a contract to purchase a property and then get denied by that country, right? Because you could lose a massive deposit and not be able to actually own that property after all. So that's why you have got to check into that, because ignoring that rule is very, very costly, because every time you sign a contract, you're going to have to put down a deposit, and you don't want to do that until you've taken those steps.
Exactly. And that's why buying overseas requires actual local experts that Airdomo partners with, because the legal system really does change everything. But you're right. So the mistake number three, which I think has been a great topic in everything that we've talked about, which is ignoring the true cost of ownership, right? What are those financial mistakes that usually surprise buyers?
Well, and again, every country is different, but one of the things you really do have to consider, because this is very different than the states, let's say. Let's say our audience today is all from the United States. We're used to buying a property and paying our property taxes annually. Well, in some of these countries, you're going to buy a property and pay a transfer tax that could be 2, 3, 6, 8% of the property value. That's a big chunk of change, especially if you're purchasing a 3, 5, $10 million property, right? Do the simple math on that. So you have to understand what is due at the time of transfer. And then are you going to have annual property taxes or will you not? Do you have HOA fees, right? A lot of us are familiar with those. And what are they going to cost? What is it going to include? What are those utilities going to be? What is management costs going to be? If you're going to utilize the home for rental income, you're going to want a management company. There's no way that you can manage it from afar. It's just, it would be ridiculous to even try to do that. So you've got to take into consideration, what is that going to cost? And then insurance. Insurance is another big piece. Insurance is where a lot of times people get surprised, especially when we're here in the States and we know what we pay for insurance, and then all of a sudden we'll be on an island getting quotes for insurance, and we're like, wait a minute, why is it so much cheaper down here? Well, there's not all those taxes going to the federal government sometimes, but that may or may not always be the case. You still have to take a look at that, right? And then, the rental taxes. Are you going to be taxed on the rental income, or are there no capital gains tax, or are there no rental income taxes, right? And so all of those things are they're necessary for you to plan for, right? They're necessary for you to understand. And a lot of times these are the things that we're going to sit down and we're going to assess with you, because it might determine exactly where it is that you go to purchase that first property globally. Make sense?
Absolutely makes sense. Looking at that little list of fees, it definitely does add up, especially as the price of the property grows. So that's definitely something to think about. Now, mistake number 4 is one that I'm very glad that we have you here to talk about. It's picking the wrong development or developer. Now, Stephanie, yourself are builder developer as well. So let's talk about developers, because this one can make or break everything.
Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you, I could talk about this for days. Throughout the course of my career, I have met all walks of life that call themselves a developer, right? But here's the thing. You have got to investigate track record. What have they developed before, right? Where is that? Did it make it? And you cannot base that decision on a pretty website. You just can't. You've got to physically know that that property did get built and that it does exist. And actually doing the due diligence and making phone calls makes all the difference in the world. Also, making sure that if the development is underway, have the permits been pulled? Is the funding in place? You all, there's so many things right now, and they might be watching this, that they reach out to me and say, oh, we've run out of money. That's not a real developer. A real developer understands and knows exactly how much it's going to cost before they get started. And they've already got the funding in line, ready to go, and they don't build it as they bring in the funds. That is not a true developer. But you learn all these things by looking at history and doing due diligence. You also want escrow protection. If they're saying, oh, it's 250,000 US dollars non-refundable, no, don't think so. We need to look at exactly what's going on there to make sure. There is a lot of pretty websites out there. There's actually a lot of beautiful listings on sites like ProperStar, and well, I'm not going to name them all because I don't want to get sued. But those sites out there have listings that are not real. They're not real. This is why Airdomo exists, because I got so tired of being not, I never got scammed, but so many people tried to scam me. Even developers tried to scam me. They all pretended, throw up a beautiful website. You know, with AI, you can create a beautiful website in 31 seconds, right? Throw up a beautiful website, start pre-selling construction, right? Pre-selling new construction, you know, get me $20,000 in pre-sale deposit money, and then never build the development. It happens every day, you all. Don't do it. That's why Airdomo exists. That is the passion behind it. It's to protect you, because I saw it over and over and over again. And thank God, never was a part of it and protected numerous clients from it happening to them. It goes into my PI, private investigator here.
I think we're gonna have to do an episode of
We
a couple of scams
we are
that
definitely look, I've worked with the FBI. I've worked with the Canadian Federal Police. I've worked with all kinds. And it's real. It's sad, but it's real. So it's definitely interesting what I do.
Oh yeah, I know you have some really good stories, and we'll definitely make an episode of that. But exactly what you talked about brings us to the fifth mistake, which is skipping due diligence. And I
Mm.
know how important that is. So, what does proper due diligence actually include?
Oh my goodness. Well, proper due diligence includes everything I just talked about, literally.
Mhm.
All of that, okay? Plus title verification, land registry confirmation, environmental reports, right? You don't want to find out that your developer built your condominium complex on a dump site. You want to understand what exactly is going on. You want to read the HOA documents to know, who's responsible for what. In 5 years, when the developer's gone, how much money is going to be in the association to do the maintenance, right? If a hurricane comes
Yeah.
through, who's taking care of that property, right? How much insurance is in place? What is replacement costs? You need to know what easements are around. The rental regulations. Definitely look at the rental regulations. If you're buying for an income producing property, you need to make sure you're even allowed to rent it. Okay. And then you need to do an independent inspection. This is like a home inspection, making sure that it's built appropriately. Or if it's a resale property, looking at its mechanicals, looking at its roof, making sure the structure is intact, all of those types of things. But most importantly, you've got to do a payment structure review as well, because that's where the money comes into play. A lot of times on the development side of things, and it's not a bad thing, but you're going to have payments as time goes by, as construction goes by. And that's why this due diligence is so important to do up front. But again, this is why we're here, to do those things for you and to give you that guarantee that you're not stepping into a pile of you know what.
And I think that's kind of the bonus mistake that we found here is just trying to do it all alone. It never works, right?
No, you cannot do it all alone. And I always tell people, look, here's the thing. The people that have money, the wealthy, the rich, whatever you want to call it, they don't do it. People get angry with them. They're like, oh, well, they don't handle anything. They have a person that handles everything. You know why they have a person that handles everything? Because that person is doing that due diligence. That person is handling, making sure that their money is safe. And that's why they have a person doing everything. They use teams, they use advisors, attorneys, and they are using vetting specialists. Airdomo is your vetting specialist. That's what we are. That is exactly what we do for buyers. We're that trusted team for every single country, for every step of the way. And what we've done is we have made sure that every listing that we're bringing to market on Airdomo is actually an accurate listing.
Yes, that we did. So, Stephanie, closing out here, what's the best next step for someone who wants to buy overseas with confidence, with strategy, and be sure of what they're doing?
Well, here very soon, we are going to be launching something that I am super, super proud of because, you know, if you've ever taken a quiz and or for some of you that have ever gone on and done an online dating quiz, right? To match yourself up with another individual. We have created what's called the Domo Match Quiz, and it's coming soon. This is going to enable you to take a quiz about what your likes are. And it is going to match you with the best possible fit on type of property, location of property, and basically how your lifestyle is going to be. This is going to be impressive and it's going to be amazing. Hannah, do we have an ETA on when that's going to be launched?
It's going to be launched within the next few weeks. So it's
probably by
very,
the end
very
of the year.
soon.
Yeah, probably by the end of the year. We'll keep you up to date. But it's called Domo Match. And that's going to be huge for people because you're really going to see. That's a big question that I get all the time. Well, where should I buy? Well, I don't know because I don't know you on a personal level. So now we at Airdomo are going to get to know you on a personal level, and we're going to be able to match you with that right property. And that's what's important. But also, too, don't forget, you can book a concierge call on Airdomo if you just go to airdomo.com and book a call. Have a conversation, explore, right? One of our experts will talk to you. And then also, too, on airdomo.com, just go and explore properties. These have all been vetted, like we said. Explore, take a look around, dream, because dreams actually do come into reality.
You know what they say, if you're brave enough to dream, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything I've ever put on my board, my dream board, I have. So get on Airdomo, find that house, and put it on your dream board, and we'll help you buy it. Right?
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much, Stephanie. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. We cannot wait to help you find your perfect place overseas and join us next Wednesday for a whole new topic.
Awesome, everyone. See you next Wednesday. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.